Welcome to the Chef's Kitchen Healthy Fine Dining Series. I'm your host, Nicole Gaffney, and we're here today with St. Luke's University Health Network, featuring doctors and chefs coming together to create healthy new menu options to be featured at their restaurants. Joining me in the kitchen today is Chef Victor Bock of the Sands Casino Resort in Bethlehem, along with Dr. Julia Pring. Welcome.
Thank you.
So let's get started. We're going to have a feature of a couple dishes that are actually on the Chop House, the Emerald's Chop House menu.
Great.
You know, and I'm sure you'll agree, everything is about moderation. So there's a couple dishes that I'm going to do. I'm going to interact with a little bit of cream, a little bit of butter, those sorts of things. But generally speaking, just generally speaking. So the first dish we have, very rustic. It's going to be great for working into the fall. It is a roasted beet and roasted vegetable salad. So I've gone ahead and prepared some golden beets, red beets, parsnips, heirloom carrots. We'll serve that with a Humboldt Fog goat cheese from California, a little bit of frisee lettuce. So first things first here, it's going to be served with, I'll get you started, Julia, on a pistachio pesto.
That sounds delicious.
So,
Yum. Julia, do you like to cook at home?
I enjoy a little dabbling. I'm trying to learn, so this is great.
So a little bit of garlic to start with. And Julia, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and start with your herbs, fresh basil and parsley.
Just dump it in?
Just dump all that in right away. Some of the toasted, I pre-toasted some of the pistachios as well. And then we'll gently put the lid back on and start to blend that slightly. Nope, no parsley. We'll finish with that.
I'll finish with that.
Pistachios next. Start with juice of 1 lemon here.
So you do the cheese right at the end?
Yes.
Okay.
So take it off here.
And you're just looking for the consistency.
Correct. I'm going to stop that. Okay. So just scrape the sides gently.
Okay.
And we'll continue that process. A little bit more olive oil. We'll finish with the parsley, and then we'll adjust with our salt and pepper.
So you kind of have to constantly stop and scrape down the sides when you're making the pesto to keep it all moving along.
It's going to be chunky. From a pesto perspective, it's a little bit more liquefied.
Okay.
Because it's going to act more like a dressing on the plate.
Nice.
For that. Okay.
Beautiful.
So in the meantime, I'm going to walk us through. So what we do for our beet preparation here is we do salt roasted beet. Lightly cover with some sea salt. I have red and golden beets here. We'll cover this with tin foil, finish in the oven. Usually takes about 90 minutes.
All right.
You want to get those to the point where you can take a paring knife and they're just tender enough that the knife goes in and pulls out very easily. Okay. So while the doctor is working on that, we're going to work through our maple vinaigrette.
Okay. Is that maple syrup in there?
I've already started with maple syrup. This is a real gentle, easy emulsified dressing. A little bit of Dijon mustard, some fresh minced shallots. Okay, and
Was that a little orange?
a little zest of orange through a microplaner.
Yeah, it smells good. You can smell the orange as soon as it hits that grater. Wow.
Okay. Same thing again, just a little bit of orange juice. So if you wouldn't mind grabbing me the small whisk there, if you would. Since you're the olive oil expert, just a slow drizzle.
Nice. So Julia, why did you choose orthopedic surgery?
You know, it was kind of funny. When I was in medical school, I just was randomly assigned to do an orthopedic rotation. And I just fell in love with it.
Really?
It made sense to me. I enjoyed working with it.
Nice.
It was hands-on.
So it stuck.
It stuck, yeah.
Fantastic.
So the consistency, it breaks up the fat molecules with the Dijon mustard and the orange juice. So now we just need to adjust our salt and pepper consistency here.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that I really try to preface with, especially a lot of my younger cooks, is just the importance of acid in everything. So I'm going to point that out throughout. So we talked about the lemon juice, and you need that little bit of acid component. Here with the orange juice as well. I'm going to finish this just to give it a little bit more consistency. I have some champagne vinegar.
Okay, really brighten that up.
Yep.
We'll return with more from the Chef's Kitchen. We now return to the Chef's Kitchen.
maybe we should test the pesto here. What do you think?
I think it looks
See
good.
how good I am.
Okay.
Did you get to taste it yet?
I haven't tasted it yet.
Good consistency so far. Now, if you taste that, if you want to grab a spoon there and give this a try.
It's the only
Now
way you're
this-
going to know if it's good, right?
Right. Now, obviously, you'll taste it. I think you'll say, hey, needs salt right away. So we're going to add the Parmesan cheese for the last blast. Pulse that again, and then we'll check our salt with fresh milled pepper.
Okay.
Because the Parmesan cheese is going to add quite a bit of salt itself,
Quite a
right?
bit of saltiness to it as well. So these items, the great thing about these dishes, there's a little bit of preparation work with the vegetables and roasting those ahead of time. Pesto, you can make batches of pesto, keep it in your refrigerator sealed for a month, no problem. Obviously, it's a very, very versatile dish, an ingredient for anything, chicken, fish, beef, you name it. We have some Versailles lettuce, as I mentioned before, parsnips,
Carrots. Those are such pretty carrots.
baby heirloom carrots,
There's different colors here. Great.
Yeah.
and some golden beets.
It's good to eat the rainbow, right? I mean,
right.
do you give your patients any advice on diet at all, or is that not really part of the orthopedic?
Well, you know, weight plays a lot of factors into orthopedic issues. So I do talk to patients about it. I just really encourage them to have a healthy, balanced diet, you know, and portion control like we're talking about.
Right,
So,
exactly.
Everything in moderation, right?
That's
We
right.
went over that, right? Good.
Yep.
So this is just a real light toss. And the great thing, this salad does very, very well on the menu because it has a lot of different components, especially in the fall coming in. The
So-
great earthy components of
Yes.
the parsnips and the beets work really, really well. You see beets more and more on menus nowadays because of, you know, some of the health benefits from that
Definitely.
as a vegetable. So light dressing, we'll hit this with a little bit of salt and pepper as well to finish, and we can go ahead and plate.
Now, this is on the menu right now at
is.
Emerald's Chop House.
That is
And this
correct.
is part of the St. Luke's Healthy Fine Dining program.
That's correct.
So you can get this recipe that you've seen on the show today right at the
Absolutely,
restaurant.
absolutely.
Love it.
A little salt and pepper. See how my sous chef did here today. Okay. Not bad. Not bad again. I think we need
A little salt,
just a little bit of salt
pepper.
and just a shot of pepper.
Just pulse it 1 or 2 times.
There you go.
That's a good tip, though. What you're doing is to always taste in between.
Taste as you
You're
go.
adding different
Obviously,
ingredients.
once salt goes in, you can't take it back
Right.
out, so it works fine. So,
A little bit of the pesto. Very nice. And now, Julia, you specialize in joints. Is that correct?
I do a lot of joints. I do a lot of sports injuries, fractures, acute, you know, ankle sprains, stuff
Right.
like that. I really get to
Dislocated
do a whole
shoulders, those sort of
variety of
things.
things, exactly. But
Nice.
yeah, I do a lot of joints in the body.
And as you said earlier, most people probably wouldn't associate diet or obesity to be that, you know, related to orthopedics, but
It really is. Joints like the knee can feel easily 10 times or
Right.
more the weight of your body just with normal day-to-day moving. So it makes a big difference.
definitely. That's great to know. Well, look at this. This looks fantastic.
Oh, it looks delicious.
When a salad looks this pretty, and I know it's going to taste great, I mean, eating healthy is pretty easy, you know?
It is.
Now tell me about this Humboldt Fog. This is
Humboldt
one of
Fog.
my favorite cheeses.
it's a goat cheese from California. It's coated lightly with ash. So for me, I love the component again with sort of the acidity piece.
Yeah.
Because there's a very tart aspect of goat cheese, which pairs very well with the sweetness of the beets and the carrots once they're roasted. So it's one of my favorite cheese. And this is just very kind of random. Scatter this across the salad.
And it's so much nicer than just a traditional basic chev. You know, this cheese has so much more depth to it.
Absolutely. So, but you have the versatility again. I mean,
Right.
A blue cheese could go with this. It really goes based back onto your taste because I think, again, those tart aspects of those different cheeses, a gorgonzola, which is obviously really
Right.
pungent, still pairs very, very well. So the next dish is Dayboat sea scallops.
Yum.
Again, on the menu at the Chop House, very, very popular dish and super simple to make when you think about it.
Nice.
A little bit of prep time ahead. Julia, I'm going to have you work with me with the celery root puree, which will be
Okay.
the base, much like the pesto that we're done with this dish. So I go on ahead and sort of par cook some celery root, potato, some diced fennel, some white onion as well.
Wow.
We'll return with more from the Chef's Kitchen. We now return to the Chef's Kitchen.
Now obviously I'm going to make for a portion a little bit more than for one, but if you want to go ahead and drop each of those in there.
Oh, that butter smells good.
Yep. Just a little bit of browning to the butter as well. Katie, you want to grab me the rubber spatula, please? Good.
And you want the fennel and the onions as well.
Fennel and onion right in there as well. So what we're looking for here is not too much in the way of color per se. It's okay, like I said, to generate a little bit of that brown butter aspect of it because it gives that nice nutty flavor to that. Lightly sweat those. We'll finish those with a little bit of garlic.
What is that? You just have some garlic chopped up in olive oil there?
Yeah, extra virgin olive oil.
Nice.
We keep that in most every kitchen.
That's a great tip even for home cooks to keep on hand, you know, so you don't have to chop a piece of garlic every time you
Go
go
ahead
to
and continue to stir that.
So Julia, tell me why you like being part of the St. Luke's University Health Network.
I've really enjoyed being a part of the network. There's just a huge number of doctors that I have great access to. The support staff is excellent. Even within orthopedics, I have a lot of colleagues that, if there's a challenging patient, we really work together well. It's also really easy to access the other doctors in the network and really come together on a patient that has, multiple issues that need to be addressed from different standpoints.
That's great. So you always have someone else to lean back on if you need to.
Yeah, it's really a team, I think.
That's a great way to put it. Nice.
That smells so good.
It does, doesn't it?
So
I
if
love
you
the
were to,
different stuff you have
start
in
this
there.
dish with raw potatoes, raw celery, there's a cooking time process there, probably a little over an hour. So in that case, I would have added a little bit of stock, vegetable stock, chicken stock would be fine as well. So to that, you have a little bit of milk.
And do you tend to just use whole milk whenever you're cooking?
Yes, yeah.
And
And we'll cheat a little bit and just a little bit of cream.
Just a touch. But like you said in the beginning, it's all about balance.
The dish itself is scallops, Brussels sprouts. We do some of the other components. We have oyster or maitake mushrooms. We do add bacon, our house-made bacon. Obviously, that's an optional item if you want to stay away from that type of product. But we smoke and cure that in-house as well.
That's delicious.
Some fresh-made shallots. And then we finish with a pomegranate reduction. And again, very simple. You can buy pomegranate juice in the store. This has a touch of sugar, a little bit of red wine vinegar. You just reduce it down to almost a syrup-like consistency to finish the plate with.
Well, I love the take that you did on sort of mashed potatoes here, because there is butter and cream in there, but you're also lightening it up and adding more nutrients to it with the onion and the fennel and the celery root.
Correct. So here I have the day-boat scallops, as I mentioned.
Beautiful.
We'll start this.
Where do you get a lot of your seafood from, Chef?
All over, depending on the item. These are coming off the Grand Banks, the North Atlantic. Great time of the year. We get them also from the Cape May area, off of New Jersey at times as well. One of my favorite items to work with. It's very, very versatile. Of course, notwithstanding our feature today, you could certainly bread and fry these, which are fantastic.
Nothing wrong with that.
Correct.
But I love a nice seared scallop. Can't go wrong there. So you're looking to get the pan nice and hot.
Nice and hot again, a little bit of brown. These are dry pack scallops. So
well, explain what that means, dry pack. A lot of people don't know that.
These are items where, by law, I believe it's about 10% that the government allows you to add liquid to as a preservative as well. Those are called wet pack scallops, but the problem with that in the pan, once you hit that, it basically releases all that moisture that's been added to it, and you steam. So what we're going to do here is...
What size are these? Are these U10s?
These are called
U8s?
U10s, yeah. So under 10 per pound by average. Okay, we'll just do 5 for now. Just a little bit of salt. And we want to get just some really nice color. The scallops have such a nice natural sugar component to it as well. They should have browned up very, very nicely.
And then once you put them in the pan, you really don't want to touch them.
No, you want to let them there probably for 2 minutes on each side again.
And they're nice big scallops, so
they're gorgeous.
They can take a little time.
Okay, so getting some good color on these.
Looking delicious.
They smell fantastic.
They do.
They really are beautiful. Do you like to eat a lot of seafood? Do you like scallops, Julia?
I do like scallops.
Yeah, nice. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not a big eater, as you can tell, so scallops or anything like that doesn't matter. So
We'll return with more from the chef's kitchen. We now return to the chef's kitchen.
we'll just let that go for a little bit longer. So
Okay.
we want to cook that. See, to me, ideally too, I like my seafood like medium. And
Yeah.
if you're dealing with a great fresh product, there's no need to worry about getting sick or a foodborne illness if you're handling everything appropriately. Same thing with some salmon dishes. Some of the other fish, obviously, you want to cook the whole way through. Some bottom feeding fish also. So now again, depending on your doneness, me ideally, like I mentioned, I'd like to have these done medium. If you like your seafood a little bit more, just pop these in a low oven to sort of let them finish, or just keep them warm in that instance. Okay?
Perfect. That was very simple. So, Julia, explain what the cut last approach means.
The idea is if we don't have to do surgery, we sure don't want to do it.
Right.
So, there's certain types of injuries that really do need surgery right away, and we can't avoid it for the patient to have the best outcome. But if there are things like physical therapy, certain medications, types of bracing, things like that, that we can work the patient through and avoid doing surgery, that's sure our goal.
That's fantastic. All right, so what did we miss? What did you put in the
All right,
pan
the last
here?
component. So again, all the rendered juices, the butter, remaining butter, and so forth. So remove the scallops, as I mentioned. We'll add back some of the rendered bacon that I've gone ahead and cooked a little bit ahead of time.
Okay.
Some sliced shallots, some oyster mushrooms, a little bit of Brussels sprouts. Another item that you see more and more on menus.
Oh, they're everywhere.
Great,
Everyone
great
loves Brussels sprouts
earthy
now.
flavors to those. So
Now, are those partially cooked as well, the Brussels
those
sprouts?
are blanched ahead
Okay.
of time as well.
Are you a Brussels sprout fan?
I love them.
Great. They can be polarizing, but I think a lot of people that used to hate Brussels sprouts have really come around. My father being one of them.
And again, we'll let just the flavors blend together, the natural flavors of the food. Add a little bit of our garlic and olive oil mixture there.
I just love all the different textures that we have in here
Yeah,
too.
definitely. The crunchy bacon and the tender mushrooms, lots of different stuff.
So I think we're ready to go. You want to play?
Perfect, let's do
Okay.
it. I'll grab it.
All right. Through the miracle of TV, Julia's made a great celery root puree over here.
Looks so silky and smooth. Just want to take a bath in that. You could probably eat that as a soup.
I just love it. It's that earthy component of celery root. Obviously related to, but not the same as celery.
Right.
What we'll do here, we'll put some of the scallops down first.
Now, do you normally serve this many?
Depending on the
Scallops?
size, if they're a good consistent size,
Right.
we'll serve 5 scallops.
That's a big portion.
These are great and very consistent in size.
Nice. And the mushrooms looks like they cooked perfectly. Now, is this on your menu year-round, or is this something that you
This
just
was
bring
an
in for fall?
this was an item we actually added just a few months ago.
Okay.
And it has performed so well for us.
I can see why.
And it's going to work very good, like I said before, going into the fall season with a lot of the earthy flavors and textures.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I've gone ahead, and again, this served with pomegranates. We have some fresh pomegranates. We'll garnish with a little bit of pomegranate seed.
That tart little burst in your mouth.
Yeah, I love that. You talked earlier about, making sure your dishes were all balanced with the right amount of acidity. So is that kind of where this is coming in?
Correct. And again, you don't need a whole lot of anything. Just let every ingredient kind of speak for themselves. This again is the pomegranate syrup reduction, a little bit of red wine vinegar, some sugar.
Nice.
And as you can see, it's
Really nice
very
consistency.
pourable.
Beautiful. And now this is part of the St. Luke's Healthy Fine Dining menu. I love it. This looks fantastic. I'm so excited to taste.
Oh, it looks delicious.
Shall we toast?
Please, cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show. This is tasty. All right, well, please,
Thank you.
everyone dig in. I'm going to start on the salad.
Attack it.
Get some of your pesto. Get in there, chef.
Get a little of this cheese over here. and so
Yum, the
much
beets are
of
so
that.
nice and sweet, perfectly in season. And that goat cheese, the Humboldt fog, perfect. That's just the kind of salad I want to be eating in the fall. It's just so nicely balanced, and the frise lettuce is a little bit bitter. It's perfect. Now I have to get into the scallop.
Very nice. Oh yeah. I'm gonna take one of these Brussels sprouts first.
Nice. Get a little bacon on there. They're perfectly cooked. They're just a little under in the middle. Nice and sweet in that celery root puree. It's just silky and smooth and has a really nice texture and flavor. Everything really balances out well. Well, let's have a toast. Thank you so much, Julia, and St. Luke's University Health Network. Thank you,
Pleasure.
Victor.
Thank you.
And Sands Casino Resort Bethlehem. It's been such a pleasure having you guys on the show.
Yeah, this was a great experience coming in and getting to learn some really fun cooking tips and putting together these great recipes. Chef was fantastic in walking you through everything and just learning about it.
Thank you for having me on the Chef's Kitchen. It gives me a great opportunity to show some of the dishes that we feature throughout all of our restaurants at the Sands Casino.